Hello everyone, happy Friday. It's Insta Live on Fry, and this is Audrey Button from Safe Harbors of the Fairy Lakes. I use the pronouns she, her, hers. And we're kicking off April, which is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month. So this month we are doing topics specific for sexual assault awareness. And we will post about sexual assault awareness related things and child abuse prevention as well throughout the month of April. So make sure you check it out. So yesterday you saw it was Wear Blue Day for child abuse prevention awareness. And then on Tuesday, so April 6th, make sure you wear your teal for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's Teal Day, so bring out your teal if you can, and take pictures and share them with us and all that great stuff. So today we're going to be discussing rape culture. So before I kind of get started, I do want to give a content warning, as some of the things I'll be discussing today may be sensitive to some, so please take care of yourself however you need to. So I always like to put that out there, especially, this is going to be a heavier topic that I'll be discussing today, especially. And then I also want to give a disclaimer. So the views and opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily those of Safe Harbors of the Finger Lakes, but of those in the video. And this video will obviously be recorded, so thank you for tuning in if you can right now. But it will be available obviously on our Instagram page afterwards and on our YouTube channel. So that's okay if you're watching this at a later time. I know everyone's probably busy at 2 o'clock on a Friday, so thank you all for tuning in if you're able to. And so with that, we'll go ahead and get into the discussion. I'm gonna kind of start with a definition of what rape culture is. It can probably be a little hard to understand, but rape culture, and I'll kind of this is just an overview, and we'll kind of get into examples of rape culture and then what you can do to avoid perpetuating rape culture. So like I said, please take care of yourself however you need to, because this will be some heavier discussion today. So rape culture, just kind of generally speaking, is just an environment where rape and sexual assault even or sexual harassment, anything like that, is prevalent, and where sexual violence is normalized. I know we've talked about normalization before, and this is normalized within a culture, and is excused even if people are like, that doesn't seem right, but it's excused, obviously, because it's normalized, and people are perpetuating this to be okay in that culture. So this could be in the media, so your TV shows, movie, music, and I know we've had discussions around that before, pop culture in general, society has allowed that to be okay, and so much more. So rape culture is perpetuated by misogynistic language, objectification, there's going to be some big words today, I gotta be sure, objectification of bodies, not just female bodies, male bodies, trans bodies, or any sort of bodies, glamorization of sexual violence, so you might see that glamorization in music, movies, TV shows, any sort of media, and this is why rape culture still exists and has been able to exist and continue on due to these things. So examples of rape culture that you might see quite a bit is victim blaming. So this is like kind of, they asked for it, it's your fault, you looked like you, just look how you were dressed, like you were kind of asking for it based on how you were dressed or how you were acting. That's victim blaming. That's placing the fault on the victim, obviously, instead of focusing on what the perpetrator did. They took advantage of them, or their actions were not okay. It should be, taken off the victim. And we'll kind of obviously talk about ways we can avoid victim blaming, and we'll kind of talk about victim blaming more this month as well as one of our Instagram live topics. Then there's also some trivializing sexual assault, so like boys will be boys, well, they didn't know better, things like that. Yes, they did. It's not an excuse for this, being sexually assaulting people, harassing them, or raping them is not, excuse. They were just, boys will be boys, or, they didn't know better. Things like that is just perpetuating that rape culture. And so another big thing is sexually explicit jokes. If you're okay with those things, that's, normalizing, sexualizing people, objectifying their bodies, and that's not okay. And you might think it's funny, but it's not. And other people might not feel that it's funny. That may make them uncomfortable, and you should be aware of that. And then tolerance of sexual harassment. So this is like catcalling, just any sort of language, actions like slapping, grabbing, anything that's, really sexual and not okay. Because that kind of goes into the consent thing, which we'll talk about in a second. Just any sort of just sexual harassment and not, realizing how uncomfortable that might make people feel. And just, obviously what makes that not okay either is that, if you see someone else doing, like your friend, not saying anything about it and not, and condoning, like you're not condoning it. So if you're not calling out your friends or people in your life that are doing this, that's also not okay. You're perpetuating that rape culture. Inflating false rape reports. Everyone's like, well, there's so many false allegations of rape, like it's not right. Well, in reality, at least majority of the time people don't report. So, honestly, the 2%, it's about 2% are false allegations of rape, which is very little. It's similar to any other sort of crime, like murder or anything like that. It's a very small percentage. And a majority of people still don't report due to this perpetuated rape culture and just the fear of not being believed, and the lack of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just rapists and people who are doing this are not, being... That's basically a slap on the wrist. There's not a long prison sentence usually, or they get off pretty easily due to this. So there's just, when people go through these kind of things, they just look at that and is it worth going through that process or just, trying to live with it rather than reporting it. So just keep in mind, usually if you're saying, well, there's so many false allegations, that's not true. It's usually around 2% are false allegations. And even if, you should always just believe them until obviously, there's the criminal justice system will obviously prove if it's not true or not, but a majority of the time it is true. It's probably true. And you should just believe your friends and loved ones as well. And just scrutinizing how a victim or survivor was dressed, like we kind of talked about, their mental state, their history, like sexual history or just history as a person, that's not okay. And just, gendered violence in movies especially, TV, music, that perpetuates rape culture. Defining, I say manhood in quotes, as dominant, so it's usually like how men are supposed to act in society as dominant and sexually aggressive. And womanhood, I also say that in quotes, as submissive and sexually passive. Those stereotypes kind of feed into that culture as well. And then just that pressure on men, I say men usually, to score, like get with as many people as they can. There's that pressure on men to do that as well. It could be women or anyone, however they identify, that's generally what males are expected to do or how society sees them or should be. Just pressure on women to not be cold. And I say that like we come off as like aggressive or we have to be nice. Like if we ignore men as they're catcalling us, then we're seen as, cold or not very nice, even though, clearly it makes us uncomfortable or anyone. It doesn't have to just be women, but there's that kind of stereotype and expectation. And just assuming only promiscuous people only get raped or sexually assaulted is another thing that perpetuates this culture. And just assuming men don't get raped or they're only weak men get raped, which is not true as well. And just, not taking rape or sexual assault accusations seriously. You should always take them seriously no matter what. And just teaching people, there's that teaching people to avoid not getting raped versus rather than teaching people not to rape. That also perpetuates this culture. And so I know that was kind of a lot. This kind of like all feeds into that rape culture. There is a rape culture pyramid that shows like what kind of builds up to the top there. It kind of starts with that normalization, then the dehumanization, degradation, the removal of autonomy, and then eventually that leads to the explicit violence as well. And so what you can do to help try to change rape culture, not let it perpetuate, there's so many things you can do, but these are some big things you can do. Avoid using language that objectifies or degrades people in any way. Speak up if you hear someone else objectifying somebody or just using language or anything that just makes them uncomfortable. That's not appropriate. Call them out for it. It's okay to call them out. Say, hey, that's not okay. They're uncomfortable. You need to stop. And obviously making sure that person's okay. Call them out if they're making a rape joke. If they're trivializing rape in any sort of way. Just be a good bystander. And you don't have to call them out directly, but you could find different ways to be a good bystander. I know we've talked about being a bystander before, but you could ask for help or just check in with that person and make sure they're okay and make sure they get to a place where they feel safer. If you're comfortable calling out, hopefully you're comfortable calling out your friends or people in your life that are doing these things as well. And just think critically about the media's portrayal of sexual violence, and just, kind of really think about it the next time you watch a movie or a TV show or a song you're listening to. Really think about the meaning of the words and how they're portraying sexual violence, if they're kind of glamorizing it, glorifying it in any way, or making it seem okay. Really recognizing it, because we don't realize how much media influences us in that way. And just support people in your life, especially if your friends or anyone in your life, family, if they disclose rape or sexual assault. I know that's kind of overwhelming thing to deal with, but just, thank them for sharing that with you. Let them know that you believe them, you're here for them, and if you don't know what to do next, asking what they would like you to do. Maybe they just want you to listen to them. That's okay. Maybe they want some assistance with getting help with resources, like going to Safe Harbors. That's an example of that. And just being encouraging and just taking it seriously. Don't laugh at them. Really pay attention to them. Just being there is really honestly the most empowering thing for them, because it's probably one of the hardest things to do is to disclose. So just, recognizing that. And just finding those ways to help them. Maybe they just want you to listen. Maybe they want you to connect them to services. Whatever they want you to do. And just, see what they need. Be respectful of people's space. Maybe people don't like being touched. That goes with the whole boundaries thing. Just respecting people's boundaries. Communication is a big thing, especially with a sexual partner of any sort. Do not assume consent. Always get consent. And like I said before, consent's not just sexual touch, but any sort of touching or borrowing things or anything. Just get consent all the time and see what people are okay with. Because people have boundaries and you should respect them. And just, define your own, and I say manhood in quotes again, and womanhood in quotes again. Just define what that's supposed to mean to you. Like, break those stereotypes. Like, men can be, emotional or cry or get therapy or whatever those stereotypes are around whatever gender or identity, whatever sort. Break those stereotypes. Men do get sexually assaulted or raped. Women can be strong and, all these things. Just break those stereotypes, just encourage a positive environment. Let people know that it's not okay, because if we keep letting this go, it's only going to get worse. So rape culture is a little multifaceted, but really in reality, just recognizing those small things and doing those small things and believing survivors is the biggest thing. Letting them know that they're heard, give them their voice, because a lot of times they've had that taken away from them. So thank you all. I know we could spend hours talking about rape culture, but we'll kind of get more into victim blaming and myths and all that stuff later out, throughout the month. So make sure you check out our schedule for the rest of April. And thank you all so much for watching this video. And I always want to make sure I give our contact info at the end. So if you need support or have questions or just need anything, you can call our 24-hour hotline, which is 800-247-7273. And you can always go to our website, which is www.shflny.org. And you can always direct message us privately on our social media. You can comment on our posts, whatever you'd like to do. And just remember, it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month. So just keep checking out our social media throughout the month for all that good stuff. So everyone have a great weekend, and thank you again.